Hello everybody, this is take two. We had some technical difficulties last time, so welcome along to Unplugged Live, which is our series where we talk to real and remarkable people who make certain changes in their lives or actively choose to support their well-being mentally and physically in the best way possible, something that's important now more so than ever. And I'm really excited today to be joined by the wonderful Davina, who is a best-selling author, an award-winning entrepreneur, and the founder of the Mumpreneur Lawyer. So today we're going to be having a chat about how Davina manages the juggle of entrepreneur life, but also mum life amidst this pandemic. So I'm just waiting on Davina to join now. Hope everyone's doing okay out there. We're just having a little bit of technical difficulties. I can just see Davina messaging me now. Give it a moment or two. Hope everyone's doing okay. Nice to see your faces popping up. Lots of coffee. I like it. Needed, that's for sure. Regardless of where we are in Australia at the moment, I think. Let me just see. Hopefully she'll be joining now in a moment. It's so funny. I feel like I'm losing all sight of the days at the moment. I'm here thinking to myself, what day is it? Tuesday? And no, we're Thursday. Way at the other end of the week. There we go. I see she's just joined now. So Davina, if you can just click to request to join and we should be good to go. There we go. Never a dull moment. Hopefully it should pop up now.
Hello.
There we go. Hello. Hi Davina, how are you going?
Hi, Ash. Very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. I was just saying there, it's always a funny one with technology, trying to figure out all the things.
It's my first IGTV live, so there you go. First time for everything.
Oh, there we go. Every day is absolutely a school day. So I just introduced you just before you hopped on and told, of all the remarkable things that you've accomplished to date, a best-selling author, an award-winning entrepreneur, and the founder of Mumpreneur, your business. And I'm really excited to have this chat today, as I know we wanted to have a bit of a discussion on all things, juggling the mum life, the entrepreneur life, but also in the midst of this pandemic. But before we get into all of that, I always love to start off these conversations with just a bit of a check-in to see as to where you're at the moment. So if we were to say from a scale of 1 to 10, where 1 is, pretty crappy, not so good at all, and 10 is absolutely amazing, where do you reckon you're sitting today?
Pretty good. I'd say an 8, I think. Today's gone pretty smoothly so far. Had a beautiful walk along the beach and had a nice green smoothie, so I'm feeling pretty good. I probably wouldn't have said that yesterday or last night when I was eating where's the packet wrapper? A block of Daryl Lee Rocky Road chocolate. But um, it's a good day.
Yeah. I noticed someone earlier on Instagram when I was looking through posted up something about what they had eaten in the midst of that day, just getting the updates here in Victoria. And then apparently they got a lot of messages were sent through as well from them saying, oh my God, I thought I was the only one. And then put a call out to say what crazy things have people eaten today. And it was this whole list of like all the things. So I think yesterday was a tough day for many people out there, so you weren't alone. So that said, if we were to think about the last 18 months, if you were to come up with, I guess, an average number between that 1 and 10 again of how you've been going, where would you say you've been sitting?
Um, I'd probably give it, I probably would have given it a 9, but I think this last winter has been tough. So it's going to be a 7. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel it's quite up and down. Like you said, from one day to the next, I could find myself very easily at a 4, and then the next day would be a 9. And even in the midst of the same day, sometimes my husband and I were just talking last night about the twists and turns that seem to come on a daily basis now is yeah, it's definitely heightening the senses at the moment and all things going on through the mind, that's for sure. But I'd love to know a little bit more about you and to share a bit about who is Davina, from a business perspective but also from a personal perspective.
Yeah. So I think quite a sensitive soul underneath. And someone who's sort of often had, like throughout my life, I've had many different identities, sort of thing. I'm a lawyer, I'm a mom, I'm a daughter, a sister, a friend, so many different things. Used to be a rock climber, a mountaineer. Used to do yoga teaching for a little while. So I've had many different hats and many different identities. And I think, sometimes we get a bit wrapped up in one of those identities, and I try to, not attach myself too much to one. But yeah, underneath, definitely someone who's very sensitive and who craves connection. Yeah.
Yeah, I can absolutely relate with that sense of identity and attachment too. In my own life too, have had a number of different ways of showing up in the world, everything from, corporate marketer to yoga teacher to everything in between. And how interesting it has been, even in my own journey, that attachment really had been there, and how long it took to really soften that and let go of that, and how that actually was holding me back from showing up fully in, I guess, the iteration that was there at the time as well, because we're still kind of holding on to something too, and that notion of what that meant, and touching on, as you said, what's actually beneath the surface of those identities, and how do we connect a little more with that, and let that be the means to show up in the world. So yeah, I also resonate with the sensitive soul, and I'm definitely right there with you.
No, I certainly feel all the feels, that's for sure.
Yeah, yeah. So like throughout that journey, obviously, it sounds like it's been a colourful ride, considering all the different ways and means that you've found yourself in terms of from a corporate but also a personal perspective. What would you say have kind of been the more pivotal moments along that journey?
Yeah. So one of the biggest change in my life happened probably when I was diagnosed with bipolar in 2005. So that's over 15 years ago, 16 years ago now. So it's a long time ago. But it was an absolutely pivotal moment in my life when I realized, I had to look after myself. Ultimately, I was responsible for looking after myself, not other people, and being aware of my mind, and acutely aware of my mind, because I had gotten to a state where I wasn't really looking after it. And I think that happens to many people, but obviously to a far lesser degree. I mean, particularly through the last year or two, I notice sort of depressive tendencies in a lot of people. I notice anxiety, sort of panic style tendencies in other friends. So you know, I think we all have those elements in us to a certain extent. Um, it's just when you're diagnosed with bipolar, you really have, you know, experienced the absolute extremes.
Mm.
So, so definitely a pivotal moment there.
Mm. That would have been a pivotal, but I'm sure a very challenging thing to manage and to know and to find out.
Mm.
How did that affect you, I guess, on a personal level, but also, you know, was it family involved at that time or?
Yeah, it affected me hugely because up until that time, I'd really been quite a high achiever, if overachiever. I'd always sort of strived to be the best at everything I did. I sort of launched myself into things in an almost, you know, unbalanced way, in the sense that I would devote so much time to particular things. You know, I would, for a while there, I was working in corporate and studying at night, and then I went off to the UK to work in a law firm there. And I think just, you know, the intensity of life and the pressure built up and up, and a few life-changing events sort of happened in quick succession. Um, I was assaulted. I broke up a relationship, and there was there were a few events, and then there was the launch. So I was there in 2005, and those few events sort of, my mind like fell apart, and that meant I was actually hospitalised, and I had to have my mum fly out from Australia to look after me during that period. It was really tough. Like, I felt like a complete failure. I ended up having 6 months off work, and I couldn't quite work out sort of what happened, and I didn't understand why other people didn't say, you know, that was a trigger. And it wasn't until I realized that I'm the only one who can see what's going on in my mind. So I'm the one who's responsible for it, and I'm the one who has to really keep checks and balances on my thoughts and my thought processes, and that helps create a healthy mind. It wasn't until that I was like, oh, I can manage this thing. It's going to take conscious effort every single day, but I can watch my thoughts and I can control them, and I can say, oh gosh, yeah, no, that's really black and white thinking, or that's incredibly negative, or that's, you know, you're probably going down a bit of a rabbit hole there, or something like that. Once I started realizing that I was responsible for my thoughts and could control them, it was just like, wow, I can live with this. It's okay. You know, this is not the end of my life. In fact, I can use this, and in many respects, it's actually become my superpower, because now I'm so conscious of what's going through my head at any given time that, yeah, I think that's actually really empowering in life. Yeah.
I'm sorry to hear all of those events that you had to go through. I can't even begin to imagine what that must have been like at the time. And something that you said there really resonated with me in terms of that, with anything that's going on mentally, you know, it's not like we wear a cast because we've got a broken arm, or, you know, things like that. If we're being challenged or we are struggling on the outside, it can be very apparent to other people around us. But when we have things or challenges that are going on internally, no one can necessarily see that from the outside. And if we've had that history or background, as you've said, you know, and I resonate too with some of those themes around that high achiever and, you know, the constant need to do more and perform better and achieve more, you know, that it's not necessarily apparent to those people around us. So then it does become an inside out job. You know, it is up to us to notice that and to say, you know, something's off kilter here. Or maybe it's a case where, you know, I haven't been feeling myself for quite a while, like what's going on, and getting a bit more curious as to what is going on. And, you know, asking yourself those questions. So, you know, you did mention there around that managing your mind and that observing and you know, how that is your job and that you take responsibility for that now, which is incredible. But I'd love to know, you know, these days, how is it that you do check in with yourself?
So I think, you know, meditation is obviously a big one, but I think meditation can be looked at more broadly too. So there's lots of activities that I do that are quite meditative. So if I'm sort of going surfing and just sitting on the board and, you know, there's other people aren't around, I feel quite, you know, in the flow. If I'm rock climbing, you have to be in the flow, you have to be in the moment. That's a very meditative state. Walking, just walking. Sometimes I'll go for the longest walk, and it's incredible how light and you know, how released I can feel at the end of it. Just my mind has had time to work through all these. So often, you know, working as a lawyer, I hear about people's legal problems. At first, I might not have a solution, but I can go for an hour-long walk, which doesn't look like doing work. But, you know, my mind's just working through, and by the time I get back, I'm like, I know what we need to do here. So yeah, I think there's many different sort of meditations. I do use Insight Timer, which I find fabulous. There are so many incredible meditation experts on there, and I can, you know, if I get tired of one voice, I can listen to someone with different techniques. So that's a fabulous tool. But yeah, so lucky in Australia to be living in kind of quite a natural environment, so that you can go into the bush and get what do they call it? Forest
Bathing.
Yeah. Bathing too. So yeah, we're lucky.
Yeah, beautiful. And you know, I was in our chats before now, you've spoken about how your most important role of all other thing that you're most proud of is being a mum. And you know, it's also incorporated even into your business name. So how has your journey, I guess, with well-being, with supporting your mental health, how has that changed, whether, you know, for the better, or what have you learned, you know, on that journey into motherhood? And how do you, I guess, manage these days too, in the midst of all that's going on?
Yeah, I think, you know, it's natural for mothers to want to do more for their children all the time, or to, you know, as a recovering perfectionist, it's like I want to be, you know, the best mother I can, or the most, you know, do a perfect job. And it's really hard to sit back and go, it's okay, you're enough, you know, you've done enough, and remind yourself that, you know, sometimes if your child's just made it through the day, then you've been a good mother. You know, like there's a few movies like about the bad mums that you might have watched, and you know, I think they're kind of liberating in that, you know, we don't have to strive for this kind of being the perfect mother or being the perfect wife or partner. You know, it's much more of a journey, and how can we facilitate a really good environment for our children to live in so that they can become sort of their own masterpieces and their own, you know, works in progress, so you can help them through the journey that is life. And, you know, life is full of change and full of opportunity, and how do we help them take the best opportunities for themselves? So I think that's more in tune with my philosophy of, you know, trying to do a good job as a mother. But it's not easy because, you know, my house is certainly not clean at the moment, for example. You know, there's laundry half done. You know, my car's always dusty. In fact, one of my son's mates had a go at me because he thought it was he said, your car's dusty, oh dusty. I was like, yeah, that's because it hasn't been, so cleaned in oil. And I guess it's about going, okay, you know, I don't need to be perfect. If I can just improve on my yesterday, then yeah, things are going well.
Yeah, I love that as a philosophy, you know, that idea of just being the best you that you can be today, you know, and that might look very different to how it did yesterday, or very different to how it might be tomorrow, but knowing what's going on, knowing, you know, how it is that you're going energy wise, how, you know, how much sleep you've had, what else might be going on externally that might be impacting your ability to show up as a mom. And what a beautiful example to be setting for your children, you know, for them to look up at this role model who necessarily doesn't have it all together, but that's okay, you know, and how incredibly liberating for a child to know that, you know, that that's okay in this house. That's how we operate. I love that.
Yeah, I think it's remember that they're, you know, you can teach your children all the things in the world, but ultimately they're going to reflect the kind of person and the kind of values that you're espousing in your everyday actions. And so, you know, I get angry, I shout, but I also try to say, oh gosh, I was really angry at you then. You know, I was really, like, be self-conscious and be compassionate and empathetic. Oh, that affected you, you know, you're upset, you know, and maybe in hindsight that wasn't something I should have been so mad at you about, but I'm in a rush, you know, like sort of a compassionate view towards yourself and towards your child. I think is really, really important. And just looking at, you know, when we talk about EQ and emotional intelligence, to kind of go, okay, well, how am I dealing with my emotions? Because that's what children are going to pick up on. So if we can be really good people ourselves, then, you know, we give our children the best chance to be their best selves too. And if we foster and nurture the kind of relationships we want in our lives, like with our partners and with our friends, then I think they see that and they pick up on that way more than, you know, just telling them things or being selfless, which I don't believe in at all. Like, I think you really to look after yourself, to look after other people. I just think you have to. And I think, you know, I'm sure you've heard it many times, the whole, you know, air oxygen mask on yourself before you look up is so necessary. Yeah.
So true. So true. And how, you know, with you are an entrepreneur, you run your own business and are also sounds like an incredible mother. How do you balance those two worlds?
Yeah, so it is busy, but I think you know, yeah, it's just a daily prioritizing, isn't it? It's and also kind of a letting go. So when you're running a business, you're consistently well, you've obviously got your clients to deal with, but you've also might have staff, and so there's a lot of relationships involved that you need to take care of and nurture. And then during this sort of last period with lockdown, there's a lot of anxiety and a lot of heartache that comes along with that too. So in many respects, I sometimes find that, not just lawyer, also psychologist, or so it's not easy. I don't think any entrepreneur and mum would say it's easy, but I would certainly say that it is just the most incredible journey and fulfilling journey. Being entrepreneurial really just means like finding the problem and working out solutions, and I love doing that. And that's what my clients do. I get to work with mums who have these incredible ideas, and if I can help them get off the ground and be confident in that, then I've done a job. Like, I've done a good job. So it's pretty exciting to get to do what I do. And I used to so I've only got one child, or I just have one, but a girlfriend of mine corrected me and said, no, it's the one and only, the only one, and one and done. Because I think as women, we often, oh, I'm just a mum, but she might be a mum of 5 but doesn't work. So mum, I don't work, or oh, I just work and I don't have children. We really diminish ourselves by saying that. I really don't. And so it's taken a long time for me to get over that and stop saying that. Because being a mum to one is still being a mum, and it's very
absolutely. I know I even, I'm not a mother, but I find that belittling and diminishing as a woman very, very true. I mean, even I notice in myself, speaking about my own business, that I always talk about, oh, I'm just doing this little thing, or this short little course, or, it's always the little and the small and the justs. And I've made a really conscious and concerted effort this past year, especially, to say, no more justs, no more littles, no more smalls, it is what it is, and to stand behind that and back yourself in, all of the work that goes on behind that, whether it is running your own business or whether it is being a mother. Oh, back yourself. Love it. Love it. Yes, we need more of that, that's for sure. So based on, all that we've spoken about, and even all the bits in between, what would you say that you're most proud of in your life?
Of course, it's being a mum and nurturing the relationships that I have. So being a mum, being a partner, having strong friendships, having a beautiful family and even extended family. I think it's the relationships and that I'm most proud of. Yeah, and also showing up, like it's taken a long time for me to kind of go, it's okay, you can be the front of your business, you can be out there. People could benefit from your story, from the fact that you experience mental illness, and particularly like when all of us are going through lockdowns and multiple lockdowns. And I think the statistics are also already demonstrating that mental illness is just exponentially higher than it was a couple crazy. And then we think of all the kids now, what's going to happen in a few years' time. So I think might be almost abnormal not to have suffer from some sort of issue, but rather than saying mental illness, I just look at like, how can I be mentally healthy today? I think that's a good mindset, and something that we can all work towards. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And, you know, turning it towards a positive too. And how do I support myself today? You know, what are a few steps that I could do to make me feel the best that I can in whatever way I am today? You know, and that notion, as we spoke about, of one day can be very different to the next. But if we can just focus with what's right in front of us right now, then to do that and support ourselves in that, we will be all the better for it. So yeah, I love that. And I know that I remember you mentioning too about that checking in with your mind and that ability to manage and be resourceful and be the one in charge of that job is now your superpower, which I absolutely love, and that's definitely something that I'm going to take away with me today. So yes, I wanted to just say, I guess, thank you for taking the time to chat with me today. I've loved having this opportunity to discuss a little bit more about you and your story. I think we could probably stay here all morning and having a bit of a chat. I'm just seeing there a comment, Davina has many superpowers. I don't doubt that. So if someone wanted to learn more about you or the work that you do, how might they find out about you?
Yeah, so the easiest way is to go to mumlawyer.com.au. That's my website. And from there, you can sort of either follow on Insta, of course. That's mum_lawyer. But yeah, I'm around now and ever to or learn more about what I do. Both basically, I help mum startups or women in business with personalised legal packages. So that's my
Great.
jam. Yeah.
Awesome. And before we go, if there was one thing that me or whoever's listening could be of service to you today in some way, what that might that be?
Oh, just stay in touch, stay connected, and yeah, because sometimes, you know, the stranger in the room or the new person ends up becoming your best friend. So, you know, yeah, stay connected.
Beautiful. I love that. And especially in a time that can feel quite disconnected too, I think that's more important now, more so than ever, as a message. So thank you so much, Davina. It's been such a pleasure to spend some time with you and have this chat today. And I look forward to staying in touch and seeing you around very, very soon.
Thank you so much, Ash. Bye.
See ya.